Hi, and welcome to this week's Macanori, where I'm reading to you from my supernatural crime thriller, The Headhunter, which is volume 1 in the Ellie Lawrence crime thriller series. And we're meeting Ellie now. She's, gone back to Scotsford. She's been doing up her house. We've also seen the darkness that's starting to emerge in Scotsford. Now, Ellie's just decided she needs, it's time to leave the house. It's time to reach out. And so she's meeting up with an old friend. Oh my God, Ellie, I can't believe you didn't tell me all this. I could have helped, Anita Chowdhury said as she stared open-mouthed at Ellie. Ellie smiled at her former colleague. The thick lens glasses distorted Anita's dark, soulful eyes, emphasising the astonishment on her face. You helped, you know that, she said, squeezing Anita's hand. I know, but I could have done more. What? Ellie was shaking her head at her friend's words. You couldn't, Nita, believe me. Besides, I didn't want to drag you into the whole mess. What will you do now? Anita asked, sipping her virgin margarita. I'm not sure. The force was all I ever cared about, and now I'm not talking about work, El. What are you going to do about your friends, about Luca, about... She didn't finish the sentence, instead reaching out and squeezing Ellie's hand. I tried, Nita. I really did, Ellie said, pausing as a sob caught in her throat. I can't find him. Maybe he is dead. If he wasn't, surely he'd have reached out by now. Maybe, but you always told me Luca protected those he loved above all else. He did. Well, maybe that's what he's doing, protecting you. Maybe. Do you want me to do some digging? I could chip away at it until you're ready. No, I just can't deal with any of it. I need to accept he's not coming back. Yes, but wouldn't it be better to know for sure? Then you can move on rather than live in limbo. Ellie looked down at her hands, the familiar anguish churning in her guts. What should she do for the best? She honestly didn't know. On the one hand, continuing to search for someone who either couldn't or didn't want to be found seemed like the definition of madness. But she loved him, and giving up on him didn't feel right. I wish Frank was here. He'd know what to do, she said, finally, her eyes filling with tears as she looked at Anita. You really miss him, don't you? He was the first person except Sean and Vicky to accept me. He didn't hesitate to stick up for me that day, and I'll never forget it. A breeze had rippled through the trees, and Ellie's senses had jumped to attention. Her stomach had growled, and she'd raised her nose to the air, inhaling deeply. She'd smelt it. Underneath the stench of cooking flesh she'd originally picked up lay the intoxicating scent of blood. Fresh blood. Human blood. Saliva flooded her mouth as her instincts took over, her vision tinging crimson as she followed the scent. Her mind battled her instincts as she fought to keep the wolf at bay. She felt the imperceptible changes in her body as she shifted from a walk to a run, her senses taking over. The scent of blood was like a drug, intoxicating, alluring, undeniable. As she ran, Ellie felt the wolf taking hold. She was losing the battle. It was too much. The familiar pain started as her jaws realigned. She cried out as the claws pushed their way through beneath her fingernails and her spine curved, forcing her forward. No, she screamed into the gloom of the trees, but the word came out as a long, drawn-out howl. It echoed through the woods, sending birds scattering from their roosts. She was almost there now. The smell was overpowering. Ellie grasped a tree as she ran past. She had to stop herself. Her claws tore up the bark as she almost wrenched her arm out of its socket. Ellie rammed her claws into the tree trunk, resting her forehead against its roughness and closing her eyes. She focused on her breathing, forcing herself to stay upright as she practiced the visualization technique she'd learned at Sackville. Her heart slowed, her breathing became less laboured, the stabbing pains easing throughout her body, and the thundering in her head subsided. That's when she heard them. They were moving towards her. She couldn't let them see her. She had to run. Panic kick-started the adrenaline once again, and Ellie felt the little control she'd gained slip away. Lawrence? John Woods' voice sounded behind her. Go away, leave me alone, she said, her voice backed by a growl she couldn't control. Lawrence, what the hell is going on? You told me you could control it, you... Get away from me, she shouted, and whirled round to face him, her stance ready to pounce, her chin down, her hands flexing. Ellie stared at Woods. She stared at the men flanking him. She stared at the dogs. Tears pricked at her eyes. They could see her in all her glory, and they would see her as she changed back, exposed and naked before them. She shuddered as memories of the cage flooded back, and she let out an anguished howl. But it was too late. The threat before her was overwhelming, and her instincts took over to protect herself. The wolf was in charge now, and she had no choice but to go with the flow. As she crouched, her red-tinted vision searched for an escape from the row of men now pointing and ridiculing her. The fear had yet to manifest because of her semi-metamorphosed state. She watched as a middle-aged man stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the other officers. "There's nothing to see here. You all have jobs to do, so I suggest you get on and do them." "But, sir, it's not every day we get to see what Woods has been banging on about, is it? And what might that be, Evans?" "A highly regarded young officer in a vulnerable position." "She's hardly vulnerable, sir. Look at her." "I think we're the vulnerable ones," Evans said, nudging the officer next to him and causing everyone to snigger and nod. "Well, Evans, I disagree. And unless you all want to be up before the chief, I suggest you do the job you're paid to do. Do I make myself clear?" The group of officers stared at their superior but didn't move. "Come on, lads, she's not worth getting written up for, trust me. Chambers will finish her eventually," John Woods said as he sneered at Ellie. Shrugging, the officers followed Woods as they carried on their search. Once they'd all disappeared, the man turned and looked down at Ellie, who remained poised for flight. "It's okay, Lawrence. They've gone." How do you know my name?" Ellie murmured as she gripped the tree and eased herself up, allowing her body to settle itself as she rose. "How could I not know your name? You are the talk of the town after the Riverbank rapist case." Ellie felt heat flood her cheeks. "Listen, I know this won't be the end of it, but if you have any more trouble, I want you to call me, okay?" "Why are you being so nice to me? You don't even know me," Ellie said as she accepted the card he gave her and looked at his name. Detective Inspector Frank Jakes. "Why wouldn't I be nice to you? Have you done something which would warrant me not to be nice to you?" "No, but you saw me. No doubt you've heard the stories, so..." "So what? All that mattered is that you're a good officer, and from what I've heard, you're a grey one, and that's all that's important. Just remember that." "Thank you," Ellie whispered. "Nothing to thank me for. I'm just sorry you have to go through this. Are you okay to carry on?" Yes, of course. That's my girl," Jake said. "Oh, and don't be afraid to use your gift. It's what sets you apart from the others. In a good way." "I'm so sorry, Al. I didn't really know him, but I know he meant a lot to you," Anita said, dragging Ellie away from her memories. "I don't know what would have happened to me if it wasn't for Frank. He kept me on the straight and narrow, you know." "You mean he stopped you from killing those prejudiced fucking arseholes?" "Anita Chowdhury, what kind of language is that?" Ellie chided, her eyebrows raised at the uncharacteristic obscenity. "Well, sometimes there's no other way to say something," Anita shrugged. The two lapsed into silence, each lost in thought as they sipped their drinks. "What are your plans now, then, now you've finished the cottage?" Anita said, breaking the silence. "I thought about giving Sean a call. It's been ages since I've spoken to him, and he's always been good at steering me in the right direction." "Sounds like a plan. What about Vicky? Any word?" "Nope, not yet. It'll probably take me turning up and standing in front of her before she'll speak to me, but I'm not quite there yet. She knows I'm here, and that's the main thing." "Right, now that's sorted, how about we shake loose somewhere? I haven't danced in forever." "Now that sounds like a plan," Ellie said and laughed. She finished her Jim Beam before grabbing Anita's arm and leading her friend out of the bar. And that's it for this week. So Ellie is venturing out. You're learning a little bit more about her history. And tune in next week to see what happens next. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.